Agua.
Agua.
I haven't had a Red Bull in a few weeks. I think I forgot it a few times.
Yeah, actually, I don't remember the last time I had a Red Bull either. I think we should. It's time. It's time to fly. How's your week been, Mr. Pankaj?
Solid, I would say. Solid week.
Yeah.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Um, as you know, I have another trip to Cape Town coming up late November.
All right.
And
Yeah, of course.
yesterday I booked a safari. So that was my highlight, basically.
Oh, nice. Very, very interesting. Um, I've done Kruger, that's in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
That's on the other side. I don't think I did any safaris. I did Stellenbosch. That was the only nice, interesting activity I did outside of Cape Town, around that area. But I
You
mean,
did
there's
a
so much.
wine safari.
Sorry,
You did a wine farm safari.
something like that. Something like that. I remember I had one of the best burgers I've ever had. It was the meat was soaked in a Pinot Grigio, like for I don't know how an overnight. So it was just amazing. Also, I had heard a lot of wine, so I remember that burger very fondly. Maybe it was not as good as it tasted in my head, but it was a great day.
Yeah, you just remembered it was a good experience, and you assumed that the wine was good as well. That's how they do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
No, but it's
Pretty much.
excellent wine. And, yeah,
Pretty
it's
much.
really cool. Just briefly, before I ask you about your week, Premier League coaching situation is a thing these days, huh? It's a madhouse.
It's a thing that just got confirmed a few minutes ago. Graham Potter has been confirmed into the Chelsea job. Yeah, I mean with the Tuchel sacking, and I was reading about it today. It's such a weird story, that one. Also, basically the new owners came in. They sacked the head of the head of transfers, Marina Granovskaya, who was very well regarded within the football circles. They sacked their head of football operations, Pericek, club legend, and then within a few weeks they sacked Thomas Tuchel, the Champions League winning coach, who won the biggest trophy in the club's history. Well, they won the second Champions League in the last 18 months. I mean, 18 months ago. So it's hardly any time. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that basically Tuchel was making the transfers
Yeah.
with all those executives gone. I think he spent 250 mil or something,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, ciao. Uh, new
Yeah.
new coach is gonna deal with the players.
In fact, the
Yeah.
funny thing about that is this amazing. I mean, as always, I love the Athletic, and they did a really great detailed piece. So they were talking about Tuchel hated that. He didn't want to be involved in like a lot of the transfer stuff. So sometimes he would send his agent to go deal with the clubs. Like, I don't want to be involved. I want to go coach. So his agent was going and talking about transfer stuff, either to players or mainly to the club's new owners. It's just a ridiculous situation.
Okay, then back to what I actually wanted to ask. How was your week? Anything special?
Anything special? No, just a busy week work-wise. My weeks and my weekdays are all blurred. Um, Getting some sleep now with the young one. She's settling into Berlin, it seems, a little bit.
Who I
So
met on
hopefully,
Sunday for the first time. Lovely kid.
yeah,
Can
she is
confirm.
quite a little sweetheart. Yeah, so settling back into Berlin and getting used to calling it my home now. I'm getting more and more into seeing being in Berlin for a little bit.
I like it. I like it.
Good.
Sweet. By the way, before we start, one thing I was or surprised me with this week's top 5 news. If I'm not mistaken, we don't have a single American football related news, which
American
is
football.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is interesting because the new season is starting tonight.
Now, right. Yeah. So it's tonight even, correct. I
Yeah.
know it was this week, but I didn't realize it was tonight. Yeah. Thursday night football. In fact, Amazon did I don't know if you saw the video, the Prime Ball.
No.
It's a because I mean, obviously Thursday night football on Amazon is a big thing, and the coverage and all be like. So as part of the hype, Amazon did this. There's a new Prime Ball that is going to be used in the game, which is more sleek and spins more and flies more. There are a couple of videos circulating, which is obviously nonsense. It's just a regular American football. but there is a prime ball which might be delivered to some receiver tonight. Let's see how
And
it
that's
goes.
only for the games where Prime has the rights for.
Yeah, which are on Thursday nights apparently, and Thursday and Sunday, right, this year. So yeah, some weird promo, very hype. Okay, so
then tell us about some money.
I'll start with funding rounds. This is interesting one, Benjamin. This is actually not technically a funding round, but it's access to capital. Let's put it that way, 5 million. So it's worth talking about. As you can see, some player cards in the background. So you already get the idea where this is going. So PWCC, which is this company, which is a marketplace for physical, let's say, sports cards or trading cards. And they allow people to trade assets, to deposit assets for liquidity. So this is essentially the program that they've launched, that they have created an asset bank of 175 million. So you can, if you have some interesting sports cards lying in your loft somewhere, you can give it to them and get loans of your digital assets. Oh, sorry, your physical assets. This is actually real life playing cards. So they've got this vault, which apparently their vault, I read another article, has over $750 million worth of assets sitting with them. Crazy numbers. So yeah, essentially they've created a lending facility. They've got access from this White House Capital Partners, so people they have 175 million to spend effectively. They've got your interesting playing cards, send it to them. That's story number one. So more access to capital and funding. This is a proper funding story. LATAM fantasy startup Draftea has just raised 20 million. They've basically on the NFL, American football. So there's a story coming in for you. Interestingly for me, Draftea was actually the investors who came in. I mean, 20 million in a fantasy based startup, which is coming into the South American market, is super interesting. I believe they're based out of Brazil, but operate in different parts of South America. But look at the names: Sequoia, Bullpen, Courtside Ventures, and of course, Mr. Agua himself, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Jorge Mendes is never far behind wherever Cristiano Ronaldo is involved. Kevin Durant, and Travis Kelce, who's also an athlete, right? So this is again following the trend of interesting high growth markets. So sports, fantasy, and betting going into high growth markets, and that list of investors gives you a lot of credibility about the potential for this space. Last one quickly is coming to Europe. It's a Dutch digital fitness content platform, Funxtion, which has raised 5.8 million euros. So it's actually, sorry, typo in the description. It's 5.8 million euros, not dollars. Funxtion is primarily B2B. They sell a library of digital content to existing studios, and they allow, say, an existing studio to offer a white label fitness app to their customers. So if I'm a customer of a studio, I come in, I answer some questions about my fitness routine, and the AI will recommend a fitness program for me along with a lot of content, and then give me some analytics. Yeah, that is what Funxtion does. This is one of their founders. I don't know who that's, Ernst or Mendel, but if you want to reach out to them, then that's the guy. Those are my three stories, Ben. Which one do you like the most?
Draftea. Because it is from Latin America. Every time we publish our VC reports or regional reports, it's always North America, Asia, Europe. So whenever there's a big round from other countries or rest of the world, as we know it, as we call it, I'm happy to hear that. And it actually supports, I think, what we talked about last week or so, that we were wondering, because the zone trying some stuff in Europe and asking ourselves when does the focus shift from North America, where of course a big market is to be captured, to all the other continents. So really big names from an investment standpoint going to LATAM is a very interesting sign.
listening to a podcast which featured Deepan Parekh, who's one of the partners at Courtside Ventures. Just today, I was listening to it, and he was talking about exactly this: the idea of going into new markets. And they've also, interestingly, we know we've covered this. They've also invested in a couple of esports companies in India. They also have a gaming company, Winzo, in India. So they're now looking at replicating proven models which are working in the US and going to high consumer markets like Brazil, like India. So the fantasy in other parts of the world, we know Brazil has moving towards legalization. Expect some news from maybe Japan in this space as well.
Yeah, I mean, something that has been done in the startup world trillions of times, taken in a successful model, trying it in other countries. Many times it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think this one seems to be a good direction that they're taking there. So it's not that far-fetched. But actually, the best connection to my news story was the last one, because I think Funxtion that you talked about is a Dutch company, right?
True.
So we're staying Dutch with my news. With a new SportsTech VC company. And every time that happens, you and I are pretty happy, because that means more money flowing into the space that we all like so much. And this time it's 75 million. So it's not a small fund, not the biggest one, but also in times where the macroeconomic situation is not the best, we are happy to hear about this. And the story, I think, is pretty straightforward. Danny Cortonrate, who we both know, and didn't you also record a podcast with him at some point?
I was just say that podcast episode released today. So anybody who wants to hear from Danny.
What I checked it earlier today and was not published yet. So
it's not published yet? Well, okay. Kimberly, where is Kimberly? Come on, Kimberly, get your shit together.
Where's the podcast?
Thursdays is supposed to be podcast. Yeah, we recorded it a couple of weeks ago, and we were waiting for the news to become public and stuff. So we released the episode today.
Yeah, it's not out yet. No, it's not out yet. So
that is super weird. Okay.
I'm checking on Anchor. I think that's the right one.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, I'll figure it out with Kimberly, but it should be out by now. But yes, okay. You finish the story, then we can get more.
Yeah, long story short, if you want to know more about that fund, I assume you talked intensely about it, and this is the episode to listen. But what I liked is two things mainly. That it's a Europe-based VC company. They're based in Amsterdam, that I like, because typically that happens in the US or Asia. And I also like that they want to take companies, founders' ideas from zero to Series A. So going the whole way. So it's not one of the guys who have a lot of money. Oh, my window just closed. It's not one of the guys who used their money for, I don't know, bringing a seed funded company to Series A or something like this. They want to do the whole journey. And other than that, I mean, they're connected to a bunch of athletes whose experience they want to use, mainly from the Dutch area. So it's Mark van Bommel, future NFL player, where is it? Bryson Keaton, and a bunch of other people from the Netherlands, mostly. But what's also interesting is that, I mean, VentureRock, that's the name of the fund, they are not new to the startup investment world. They have made over 700 deals, so that's massive. They have created some big companies like Just Eat and SendCloud and others. So they're not new to the game. They seem to know what they're doing, and now they're focusing on SportsTech, because also they think it's worth going into that. And that's also obviously a good sign. Someone with that track record saying, yeah, SportsTech is the thing to go into. That's mainly it. Maybe, I don't know, you probably know more about it. Danny was also involved with some interesting companies before. Wasn't it also 442 and some other media related endeavors?
433.
Damn it. I'm stuck in the old world. Yeah, 433, millions of users every month, all of that. So something that we like to see, correct? And what else is worth mentioning, because you talked to Danny?
Yeah, I mean, well, 433, of course, is the Dutch way. So that, I mean, 442 is the more famous magazine. And he made a very popular offshoot of that. Not offshoot, sorry, independent company, as Ben said, millions of users. So Danny's an experienced founder, an experienced investor as well. Yeah, they started a venture studio first. So they were operating outside of a fund format. just trying to find startups and build something. And they said, we're going to do this. So he does have, as you said, kind of zero to open-ended approach. So they're looking for founders at all levels. And the only other thing that I'll add, which because you covered everything, is that Danny himself is based in LA. So the fund has kind of one foot in a couple of markets. So he's Dutch. His partners are Dutch, but he himself is based in the US, which is where I guess the access to capital is. They'll find interesting companies there, and they'll find interesting companies from Europe as well. The fund itself is focused all over the world. So yeah, $75 million to spend on some good companies. Get in touch with Danny or let us know, and we'll put you in touch.
Sounds good.
Yep.
What's up next?
More startups, and this is another cohort.
Wait a second. Who's that handsome guy on the upper right?
Who's that handsome guy? This is actually, I don't know who that guy is, because I think that guy is about 10 years younger than this guy. I definitely need to update my LinkedIn profile.
Little side story.
Has a lot more hair than I do. Yeah.
That guy up there is telling me since around about 3 years that he needs to update that picture. And the other things, like a couple of times, like, let's do a photo shoot for the whole team. We have cool pictures and all of that. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't know, maybe at some point. And yeah, he's just keep telling that story.
No, but it's because I cringe every time, because obviously, for conferences and stuff, they want to put
not just you.
Yeah, exactly, you as well. No, but I always cringe when they ask for pictures. They're like, yeah, just use the LinkedIn one. But in my head, I'm going, God, they're gonna see that, and then when my face appears somewhere, they'd be like, who the hell is this? It's not so different, just a lot less hair, maybe a lot whiter hair. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the story, which is the main focus. So this is a post from Fielding Kit Jameson, who is the managing director of Trailblazer Venture Studio. So this is a venture studio focused on women's sports. So Fielding put up this post just yesterday, talking about their latest cohort. It's very cool. I think we covered the story of a couple of months ago that Trailblazer Venture Studio was focused exclusively on startups catering to women's sports. So they have some good stakeholders. Billie Jean Crisis, Elysian Park was a very active, well-known fund. The LA Dodgers and RGA, who anyway have their own partnership with Global Sports Venture Studio. So they have this format that they've done before. Who are the companies that made the first go? Here's a quick look at them. Curious Story is a content creation platform. Forte is in fitness. Elysian Park Planning is about stadiums. Gist is another content platform, somebody that we know. Hey Brianna is now also working with them. Her Galaxy is which one is this one? Esports and gaming. Ida is football shoes made for women. I like that small little specialization. Lovebee is in volleyball. It's actually a league. Sportsbox AI is content capture, motion capture, and Together is another fitness content platform launched by a bunch of very famous athletes. So a women-centric sports cohort or sports startup cohort. Not all of these are sports tech companies. Like I said, Lovebee is actually just a women's volleyball league. But overall, some very interesting products in there that you should check out. Ben, anyone that stands out to you?
Not just in general. Before I come to that, I remember that when we talked about the news first, we were like, okay, we were wondering which kind of startups are they going to pick, because like just from the description, I wouldn't say it was vague, but it wasn't really clear which direction they're going. Yeah. And what I like is that we know a bunch of them. I mean, Forte has been in the news for a while. The Gist, obviously, Ida heard of them before, and a bit more down. Together we talked about. So it's I personally like it when I see companies or stories coming back, and this is one of those. It's not one specific company that I would like to highlight, but I think it's pretty cool that there are so many women-oriented startups exist in sport. That brings me some joy, and this seems to be a good thing in the making. I mean, there's some powerhouses in there also when it comes to the companies that are already backing the ones that are listed there. So yeah, so it seems like there's something good coming together.
Yeah, quick shout out to also other initiatives like Women in Sports Tech is a really cool initiative that we know does great work to support women's sports and specifically sports tech. So a lot of optimism for me as a father to a daughter that as Mia grows up and if she's ever interested in sports tech, I can point her to some great places.
I'm sure you're gonna play cricket with her earlier than playing with me.
With you, yeah. Man, come on, Ben, get your shit together. We got to sort this out.
And with you saying shit, we cannot mark this episode as well for kids anymore.
Come on. Okay.
No, we never
Sorry,
do
kids.
that. There's nobody watching, not and definitely not kids.
Hey, don't knock the millions. Don't knock the millions in there.
By the way, we haven't had a question in the chat in quite a while. So to all the masses out there watching, feel free to shoot one. Yep. Speaking about shooting, let's come. I knew you would hate that one.
No, I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
We're speaking about soccer. I'm quickly going to ask you about the Champions League first round in a minute. But first of all, it's big news actually. So FIFA was announcing something this week or a couple of days ago. We talked about them having FIFA Plus their own, let's say, what do you call it, media hub or platform, which serves multiple purposes. One of them being media content, streaming games, all of that, special content, storytelling, yada, 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 all the stuff that you need to have. And now they announced something connected to exactly that, which is called FIFA Plus Collect. So long story short it is actually FIFA publishing NFTs. But here comes the thing. Not a single time did they use the word NFT in the whole article. And we've seen that before. Like, I don't know what the news was. Maybe you remember, because I remember you talking about it. There was another news a couple of weeks ago where they definitely avoided the word NFT. And FIFA did the same. So they're talking about digital collectibles. They're talking about blockchain-based. They're talking about their partner, which is Algorand, by the way. But the word NFT doesn't pop up there. But as far as I understood, it has to be NFTs. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. But what it technically is, it's what you know from other leagues, sports, and content already. It is basically FIFA using the content that they have for in their archives, like from important World Cups, great scenes from the past, but also the upcoming events. And of course, it's the year of the World Cup, so they're going to utilize it as well. And they're going to turn those scenes into mainly moments, as far as the article reads. But I think they're also probably going to come up with some player cards, I can imagine. I think there was not explicitly mentioned. The only thing that I've read was moments, but yeah, it says art and imagery, so I would assume it's also potentially player cards. Not much else to talk about, but it's basically FIFA announcing their first NFT drop on the bigger scale. They're using Algorand as a partner, and they're doing it on their own platform. I think these are the main messages, and also using like old footage and upcoming footage. Yeah. Your opinion on it. I'm not going to ask you if you buy any NFTs, because you won't. So just asking for your opinion.
No, my only question, yeah, fair point. Absolutely correct on the first statement. My question was, do you know Algorand? Have you seen them do anything else? Because I had a quick look at their profile. I didn't see too much exciting. Like, it doesn't seem like a name that's huge in the space. They've done a few projects which are interesting. LimeWire. They've done a musical platform, which I remember seeing like other things. But it doesn't seem like a big prolific name in the space. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's a challenger blockchain. Let's call it that. The announcement of FIFA partnering with Algorand is already a couple months old, as far as I remember. And my interpretation, but I'm totally guessing here, is that matching the history of how FIFA operates and these kind of things, I'm sure they want to have some power in what's happening there. And I would assume that Dapper is already too big, let's say, to influence. Ethereum is too decentral for FIFA, I'm afraid to say. So I think they would go for one that is, of course, energy efficient. I think it's important for FIFA, but also one that they can control a bit.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, I think the energy efficient was the only claim Dalgorand made, which looked at let's say new and quite interesting. Also relevant now with so much happening with the merge and all the talk within Ethereum. Yeah, I think it's a topic that a lot of sports, let's say, properties will consider in a big way going forward. But for now, let's see output. I agree with you. I wasn't 100% clear on what exactly these are going to, but I guess the images, videos, maybe similar to standard formats that we've seen already.
Yep. And we're staying in the world of digital collectibles, right?
We are indeed. That is the top story. I don't know if my screen is coming on. Yeah, so we've got the NBA, who announced a partnership with Sorare. It's finally happened just a few months, not even a few months ago. I think it was less than about a month ago that Sorare announced with them. So this is now Sorare's second big foray into the American market. There is a video played. It's just basically graphics, lots of big name NBA players with some titles with NBA now on Sorare. The most interesting thing is that this will launch now in the fall. They haven't given a launch date yet, but it will launch in the fall, it says, before the winter. So I guess in the next couple of months. Adam Silver's comments around basically it's replicating Sorare's existing format. So it's a NFT-based platform. So at least they're using the word NFTs. And NBA is not averse to do that. It's an NFT-based fantasy platform. Typical thing, you buy and trade your cards on Sorare, and you build a team using the cards that you own, and depending on how the players perform in real life, you get points. So same format as how fantasy works. It's just the NFT trading layer. The interesting thing that last point I had is that this is a strategy for Sorare potentially, who has currently 2 million registered users across 185 countries, but primarily in Europe and Asia. This is a good way for them to enter into the US market potentially. So wrote a nice on this, which I read, talked about. They are now almost $4.3 billion company at their last round, which was 680 million. And a big part for them is expanding into the US and maybe trying to get some users from NBA Top Shot. They had already signed with the MLS. They've signed something with the MLB, and now they have signed with the NBA. Ben, are you going to be buying off their NFTs?
If in doubt, I always say yes, and especially when a new platform launches. I've done that with NFL All Day. I've done that with UFC Strike. I was also early on Sorare. I only buy a few cards just to have a few from their first drop, if possible, because just from an investment perspective, I think in 20, 30 years, they might be worth something, but also to see what the mechanics are, how they work, how they differ from each other. So yeah, I've signed up on their page. The sign up is open, by the way, the pre-sign up, if some of you wants to buy cards or NFTs from the first drop. So I hope to get notified kind of soon. But one thing I wanted to add, first of all, big success for Sorare to have that, but I think they have the most compelling offer when it comes to player cards combined with fantasy sports. They have a clear focus on that and execute that really well. And the second thing is what I found interesting is I've not seen any previews of what the player cards are going to look like. I checked multiple articles, I checked Google search, all of that. They have not published that yet, so I'm curious to see how that looks like.
Actually, my big curiosity is how much Sorare is paying the NBA or any of these leagues, because I mean, we talked about this previously. We know that the Dapper Labs pays NBA and the NFL about nearly 20 million a year, but we also know that Consensus pays the Premier League. I think it was 400 and something million over 5 years, was it? So it's something like 70-80 million a year. So that's a pretty big difference. And I don't know how much Sorare is paying all these leagues, because that is setting the benchmark somewhere between Dapper Labs and I assume they're not paying as much as Consensus. So I'd be curious to see how this market is evolving for the leagues and how attractive it is for them.
Yeah, good question. But then also the question is, what's the bigger league, the NBA or the Premier League? So maybe they even get to that direction. But I don't know. Just from the funding that they got so far, I think it's hard for Sorare to manage that. So, but who knows? Maybe we're going to see a new funding round for Sorare soon. I can imagine. I mean, they signed good leagues, North American leagues this year. I wouldn't say I can almost smell a new round, but I wouldn't be surprised by hearing about one.
But certainly, I mean, the 680 million that they raised at the end of the last, this is where that money is going. That's obvious, right? It was, I guess that money was focused on the US because by then they had already captured all the big European leagues. So that was the play, and they're executing on that play. So credit to them. They're obviously able to close the negotiations. I maybe expect an NFL partnership, and I'm sure they're talking to them, or they at least tried by now. So expect more leagues on Sorare. Now the big curiosity for me, I mean, apart from what I just said, the amount they pay, is the actual success. Whether these games will actually take, will they become super competitive like we know fantasy sports can be, or will it just be more like a trophy on your phone as a collectible, and you just have all these cards? So that's the one. The dynamics of the game will be curious. I'm curious to see.
I think at the beginning it's going to be a lot of revenue. And by the way, in this week's Nifty Sports newsletter, we had a check on the stats from last month from the big leagues, and NFL All Day had a big month actually, and it's because they officially launched, even though they've been around for a while. But it was like boom, big increase in sales immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, still appetite in this space. And more news to come. We'll keep watching it.
Yeah. Sweet. Anything else you and I need to talk about?
All right. So Vishnu is telling us that. I see you've already replied that Algorand is partnered with Formula E before. Thanks for the pro tip, Vishnu. I appreciate that somebody's watching the show.
Just
as a side note for. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. The Champions League first match day. What's your takeaway?
Before I come to that, for anybody who wants to listen to the VentureRock episode, it'll be apparently published within the hour. Kimberly's dog has eaten all her chargers at home, so that's why she was unable. Yeah, excuses, Kimberly. Ben and I are calling BS on this. But anyway, so hopefully the episode will be in the next hour, so you can go check it out. Now, the Champions League first round. I mean, obviously, huge couple of big results. Liverpool lost very convincingly to Napoli. I didn't see the games. I have to watch the highlights even. But Liverpool lost. Obviously, Chelsea lost. Munich won comfortably, a nice 2-0. I think it was Sane and an own goal, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's pretty much Sane's second one, but then he basically forced an own goal. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen any of the goals. Madrid won comfortably. Leipzig lost in a big way.
Coach sacked.
Oh, already? Shit, I missed that news.
Okay. Yeah, they signed Marco Rosa.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. The only game that the most interesting one was I saw the result: Atletico Porto 2-1. But it was 0-0 till 90 minutes.
Yeah.
3 goals in the last 10 extra.
It was insane, yeah.
Yeah, fun. But I know I don't pay so much attention to Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Ben. As you know, Thursdays is my day. Tonight, I will be curious to see if Casemiro starts, if Ronaldo starts. That's my life right now.
That's not so bad. You're slowing down in some aspects of life, or
yeah, hopefully to speed up again soon.
Sounds good. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Same day, same time.